Well, unfortunately, new harness and cleaned injectors did not fix my issue. Kind of leaves me at a loss. I don't know what the problem is. So, again, I've gone through everything. I've gone through the fuel system. I've gone through all of the wiring. I've gone in the ECU, checked the ECU data. Everything looks okay. So the next thing that I need to do is go into the plug and play adapter for the ECU master and see if potentially some of the solder has melted or any of the traces through the computer board are damaged or anything. I don't know. I'm looking for anything at this point. So kind of frustrating, but it is what it is, and that is working on and owning a modified car. So it still runs and drives. I can drive it around if I want, but I can't boost, which is kind of the whole point of having a boosted car. So whatever. I'm taking the L at this point. I'm going back to the drawing board, and hopefully the next thing that I come up with can point me in a direction. I don't even know. But this past week, I have been working on putting this car back together. This car was purchased by Louis from one of our friends from drifting, and he essentially was just tired of working on this car. It was in the chassis that was this color, but he put it into a wall and rechassied it into this car. After rechassing it, it blew a turbo, or I don't know. He kept having issues with it, so he wants to get into an S13, which in my brain doesn't really make sense because you're going to be going from one modified car to another, and they may not give you the same problem, but they're always going to give you some sort of problem. But I get it. Some people like the Nissans more. I like the BMWs more. But we ended up with this caged, I believe it's a 325 chassis. I would have to check the other side of the door, or the driver's side door. But either way, it's a caged coupe with an R154 and a 1J. The rear end is an OEM. It's I believe it's a 323. I don't know if it's a welded or if it's an LSD, but it's a 323 diff. Got the cool, dang, what's the name of them? I don't even remember. Anyways, it is a 328 chassis. So it's a 328 coupe chassis, caged 1J drift car. Inline hydro, very, very basic car. So initially, Louis only bought the shell. After some time, and our buddy not pulling the motor out, well, starting to pull the motor out, but not fully pulling the motor out, Louis talked him into selling him the whole car. So we ended up with this project. The wiring harness was pulled through the firewall and in the passenger compartment. All the whole front end was removed. The radiator was removed. All the hoses were removed. All like the intake and the charge piping was all removed. The throttle cable was removed, the fuel lines were removed, the steering was all kind of disassembled. There was no seat in the car. Like, just, you could tell that it was in the process of being either A, parted out, or B, disassembled to be sold as a shell. So we got it, and it was in dire need of, being put back together, which is what I've been doing for the past few days now. So, plan for today, I already installed the exhaust. Exhaust is good to go. Well, for now, I don't feel like welding today, so I'm not going to weld on the last hanger. I don't think he ever put the full exhaust on this car because there's no hangers in the rear, at the rear bumper for like the exhaust setup that's on it. So I don't think he ever did anything like that. And obviously I still need to clean up like the rat's nest of wiring that is underneath the dashboard. But power on. And she fires right up. So as you see, it is on a Haltech. Does have an R154. I do need to plate and cover this with something. But it's basically ready to rip. Obviously there's still some things that need to be buttoned up, but it's a good car. It's idling a little lean, but I've not been able to get into the ECU to see what the possible problem is. Could just be the air-fuel ratio. Last night when I was running it, I had a feeling that it was possibly just out of fuel, but I put 5 gallon or 5.5 gallons in it today, and it's still doing the exact same thing. So I don't know if there's an issue with one of the sensors or if it's just relearning from being off for so long, but it's running. It could drive, but I got it on dollies, and I'm currently just bleeding the cooling system. I did notice it could be running lean. There is an exhaust leak right here. So where the downpipe down to the downpipe, I guess, the collector down to the downpipe, or off of the turbo to the downpipe, is actually leaking. So it's not where the turbo connects. It's not the 5-bolt flange. It's the 3-bolt flange. So I think it needs a gasket for there. That'll honestly probably help with the misfire. And then the only other thing is just checking for leaks in all of the lines and everything. But seems like a good car. Sorry, I know you guys probably wanted to hear this. Yeah. So one of the main things that I've been trying to do today is, you can obviously hear the 1J e36 still running in the background. See if the fan's all triggered. Because when we got this car, obviously it's got those fans on it. The guy we got it from said that it overheated a little bit. So I added these fans in the front, and you can hear they just kicked on. And they all trigger. So the front are sucking, the rear, or the front are pushing, the rear are sucking. And I couldn't get into the ECU with my computer, so I don't know when they turn on. Turns out they turn on at 80. And they turn off when it hits 77, I think it is. Doo 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 doo. 77 and they turned off. So they work. Cools the car down super quick. And seems that the coolant is bled because the thermostat is opening, the lower hose is warm, and no more air is coming out. So we get a little bit of pressure when I rev it, but no air, just coolant pressure entering the system. So I think the coolant's bled. And my fans work. Have I ever told you guys how much I love cars? Because I fucking lied. You cannot make this shit up. So I took a break and was drinking an energy drink. Louie's nephew stopped by, and he was here yesterday when we got the car running. He obviously heard us talking about it stumbling at idle, and saw me messing around with some stuff. So today when he stopped by the shop, I was like, yeah, come check this out. I finished putting the rest of the exhaust on the car. Like, I bled the cooling system. It's, you know, it's a runner. It's good to go. I mean, I know you saw it running yesterday, but like, check it out. Right? And it just cranks and cranks and cranks. I'm like, what the hell's going on? The only thing different from what I just did and when it was running earlier was I put the cap on the cooling system. Obviously that's not going to change anything. So like, what the heck happened? Why doesn't it run all of a sudden? And then I got to thinking, oh wait, the AFRs were super lean, and that's what was, you know, causing the misfire at idle. So let me just, and I looked over at Louie's nephew and I was like, let me look at this gauge over here in the engine bay real quick, right? And I turned the power. I'm gonna go set you guys up over there, see if you can see if this fuel pressure gauge is doing anything when I cycle the power. Right? Fuel pressure. Power's off. Power's on. It should have primed the fuel system. The fuel pump is not kicking on. Obviously, no fuel means no start. It's just crazy that it died on me like that. So what I'm gonna do is turn it off, because obviously it needs to be repaired. Turn that off. Turn that off. I need to clean out. Actually, I don't need to clean out the trunk. This seat is not bolted to anything. So I can take this seat out, sit here, and I need to pop that tank open, or at least that cover off, and see why we're not getting any fuel pressure at all. I'm going to test the power, make sure it's getting power, and then if it's getting power, obviously we need a new pump. Which is actually kind of funny because we obviously bought this car from a friend. It was a project. It was a project that he was in the middle of doing a chassis swap on. So the chassis he was putting all of his parts on is different than the one that he was, taking all of the parts off of. So I actually don't know what is in the tank for a fuel pump, but with putting this car together, it came with all of these parts that you see plus more. So there's still some front end stuff, some rear end stuff, a hood, multiple bumpers, just a ton of stuff. So basically, when I've been running into issues, I come over to the table and I look around and I'm like, all right, what was going through his head when he was building this, and what is supposed to be a fix for the problems? Well, that's a fuel pump hanger. It is the return less style, so it does not have a return. So I'd imagine that this one was the one that came in the car, and the one that is in the car was put in there from his previous chassis. But again, this is all speculation before I even look. Also, I found this bag of fuel hose and fuel pump socks, and looks like a installation kit of some sort for I don't know what fuel pump. And then there's this box, which is a 340 liter per hour pump with installation kit. Okay. And inside, I think that is probably the stock regulator. It's got an aftermarket regulator, so that makes sense. A brand new fuel pump. And a used fuel pump? Yeah, definitely looks used. So I don't know what this is. I'll have to try to pop this case off and see if I can see any markings on it. But this is a Quantum Fuel Systems QFS 342FT. So 340 liter per hour. Again, I don't know. It's definitely a different pump than that one. Look at the opening on that one compared to the opening on that one. I don't know. I need to take the pump out of this car so that I can see what's going on in there. I forgot my tripod again. I'm not good at this whole filming stuff, so you're gonna have to bear with me, guys, okay? It will get better, but please just bear with me. Okay. So we got the seat out. So now I can hop up in here. All the power is disconnected. So I just need to do 1, 2, and 3 screws. I'll push this grommet through so this can just come up. Well, I already don't love it. So he capped that, and he's using it as the returnless style. So he's got it returning into this side and feeding from this side, which is a recipe for disaster, if you ask me. So basically what that's doing is it's going to be continually emptying this side of the tank where the fuel pump sits. Now, obviously there is like a Venturi tube that goes on to the other side that helps even it out, but in drifting, you really want to make sure that you're returning into the same side as the fuel pump so that you have the best chance of not getting fuel slosh. So I will most likely be, at least this is here, so that won't be that bad of an issue. So like as long as the pump works and everything, I don't have to change the hanger. I just have to so essentially take the cap off of this and put it over there and extend that hose from there so it's coming down this cap. Hey, whatever. I'm just here to fix stuff. So let's pop this plug off. Pins still seem okay. I don't really see much corrosion, but let's see if we're getting power here. Okay, so I've got the power hooked back up. That is on. So we should have power here. Let's see if I can set you guys up somehow. That's kind of ugly, the wiring. I might just change this plug altogether. Alright, so I got the brown to ground and the positive to the green with the purple stripe, and currently registering 0 volts, but it could just be for priming. Yep, I get 12 volts. And then it goes off. And then it sends more power in cranking. So, power-wise, it's working as it should. I always know these by the black goes to the bottom. So it's getting power. It's a connection issue. Okay, so what happens with these top hats? Let me get out of the car. You heard it kick on right then, right? So what happens with these top hats and it kind of happens to them all the time, it kind of sucks, is they have these pins, and these pins are just pressed into the plastic. And it looks like that on the other side, right? So it's just the pin pressed into the plastic. And what happens is over time, this one doesn't seem to have it. Let me see if I can find one of mine that might have it. I might have thrown it away because it was bad. But anyways, those pins, because they're just pushed into plastic, the plastic gets brittle and cracks. And when you are connecting and disconnecting them, what ends up happening is they either pull out or they push in. So these didn't feel like they were pulled out. It almost seems like it's more of a corrosion issue. So if I come in here, I'm not going to be able to get good lighting. Yeah, you see how the pin on the right side, see how towards the bottom of it, see how the plastic's breaking a little bit? So basically that pin is not being held very well in that housing because the plastic is failing. And because the plastic is failing, sometimes the pin is not going to make good contact. So Louis is going to need a fuel pump housing for this car. I mean, it works for now. Like, I should be able to, actually, what I'm going to do, power is off. I'm going to take, I've got some electrical contact cleaner. So I'm just going to take some of this and go. Clean it up real good. And this stuff dries really fast, so I'm not worried about that's in there. I'm actually going to take it away from the cage to spray it. Try and spray it towards the floor. I don't know how I'm going to show you guys. Just clean it out a little bit. And now, now I'm really not sure. It could still have a fuel pump issue. It could still not be getting enough amperage through to the fuel pump to be powering it on enough. But it also could just be that exhaust leak, which is pre-wideband, which is causing the lean air-fuel ratio. That fuel pump thing really threw me for a loop, but I love cars.